Hey everyone, so I'm in the middle of doing tree planting and it's not that great for videoing, and I thought I've been living in this place now for, I don't know, coming up to a year, something like that, I think, somewhere around then. It's been sort of being built for about 2 years or so, well, 2 years since we started anyway, and to be honest, I've done a few updates inside and I don't think people have seen the completed thing really, so I thought maybe I'd do a little video showing you sort of a year on how everything's looking, how how everything's holding up, see if there's anything wrong with the building or if anything needs any work. So go inside and we'll have a look. Made a few improvements in it. Now we've got the hydroelectric and stuff, so let's just open there. Okay, so my house, I've been living in here a year now and I have to tell you, it's very comfortable. I'll leave the door open, get some air in here. I've been very comfortable in here. This house now has everything a normal house would have. Facilities for washing, hot and cold water. I've got high-speed internet, which comes in down here. 10 meg up and download internet through there. Hot and cold water from the water tank, which is supplied from the wood stove. I've got enough power to do things. Oh, look, here's another thing I've done, is I've run normal power sockets, so, and I've got normal lights as well, so yeah, I have normal things like a normal house has, which is quite cool. I can have enough power from the hydro and solar to do things like boil a kettle. So see, that's actually a kettle, 2.2 kilowatt kettle running. Yeah, the water system's working. I haven't even looked at it since I installed it. So that's the spring water system that we did in that previous video. I'd say that's been something like over a year, I think, actually, at least a year. Haven't even looked at it, haven't even been up there, just works flawlessly. Hot and cold comes out of there. I must have put thousands and thousands and thousands of litres through that now. Works great. As you can hear, there's the kettle going. So I've got enough power in here. I can run anything. I could run washing machine and all that kind of stuff, which would be there if I was to have one. I keep sort of thinking about getting one, but currently I'm just doing my washing down in town when I go and get some food and things. Got my kitchen storage and got the fridge there, which runs on the hydroelectric. That's on all the time. All the bottles on top there for my brewing, which I've got some cider brewing down there, which will be a nice batch of cider for when I start getting volunteers here, so I can keep my volunteers nice and fed and cidered. So yeah, I mean the house it's just working great. There's nothing really in here that's a problem. I get the odd mouse come in, but nothing too major. I just have to put a few traps out every now and then. It's only usually in the cold weather, but mostly they don't come in. They try and get up into the roof, and I occasionally have to fill in some holes and things. The water system works pretty good. It does take a little while to heat the tank, about 4 hours. So if the tank was higher, maybe if I moved the tank up to the top of the floor there, it would probably work better. But now I've got all this power, I'll probably put a 1 kilowatt electric immersion in there, so then that will be able to just heat it off the electric, which is much faster and easier and less labour intensive because no wood. Here's something behind the wood stove where there's been a lot of heat and the logs are incredibly dry now. As you can see, they have shrunk a little bit, but because of the insulation that's packed in between it all, there's no light around them, so that's about as small as they're going to get, because they've been behind the wood stove for, well, about a year really, and you can see that they're very dry and there's no light or gaps. Well, let's see, there's no gaps, there is gaps, there's small gaps around the edge there, but nothing serious, and that's behind the wood stove. But if you look other areas where they're dry but not behind the wood stove, like by the door here, you can see these logs are dry, and that's the amount of cracking I've had around them, so very minimal. no problems with that. I know a lot of people are concerned about that, as you can see that, you know, as everything's dried and shrunk, there are some little cracks, but that's only just shrinkage. That's nothing, you know. The building hasn't moved at all. There's no significant like movement. The door and everything is still, it just, you know, it doesn't jam or anything, which tells me that, can you see that okay? Yeah. So yeah, like the door is exactly where it was when I first installed it. No movement, so that tells me that there's been no movement in the foundation or anything like that. The floor could do with a bit of a sanding, because it's a bit dirty. You know, when Clell the dog comes in here, he brings in all mud and stuff, but let's say I might get around to it one day, put some rugs down. But yeah, that's the inside of my house, and I really enjoy living here. It's really comfortable, and I'm never cold, and I don't have any power, and everything works great. And the building cost about £4,000 to build, something like that. Okay, so I'll take you outside and show you some of the outside. Okay, so what does like a year of weather do to logs? As you can see, there's a bit of green algae on them, but these are all solid. There's no rot going on here. These are solid, dry. They don't get rain hitting on them. This is just from dampness in the woodland, but there's no signs of rotting there. Little bit of erosion on the corner here, if you can see. I think that because this corner sticks out a little bit further than the rest, I think a drip comes off the wall and splashes, and a tiny bit of erosion. But the fix for that is just wet that down, put a bit of mud on it, so no big deal. There's no cracking around the foundation or anything, so it tells me everything's all as it should be. No cracking in the walls. As you can see, everything is just exactly how we left it, and these are all drying out, and on the outside here we don't even have any cracks. The roof overhang's sufficient. It could do, you know, if I'd have had a bit more energy to make the roof bigger, it could have been a bit nicer if it's a bit further out, but because we're in the woods, it doesn't need it. Water's not hitting the walls. It's only in that one little corner there where it is. And then the logs around the bottom here that are close to the ground, these are all sweet chestnut logs, if you remember. These are very durable, and although they've changed colour, they do that's the tannins. These are completely solid, no signs of any rot in them at all. Around the back I've got a few cables and things that I could do with burying, but yeah, everything is as you would expect it to be. The roof is currently looking very wintry with not a lot of growth on it, but there's no leaks or anything like that, which is great. I go up there every now and then and clean out the stovepipe, the chimney there, which also works pretty well. I do have the odd mouse trap set around out here, so I've got one on there, and I sometimes have them up on the walls up, as you can see, one rests on there sometimes. The water comes in here. I've got this cable here which I need to take out. This is from when I used to run the generator. I don't need that anymore. But as you can see, it's all very much working great. This is where the data comes in. This one here is the data. That's my internet. It comes in from the tower out on the field. As you can see, it's all fine. It's surviving nicely. This log's a bit rotten, but it was rotten when I put it in. But the beauty of this style of building is, if that does rot, which, you know, it's actually probably going to stop rotting now because it's dry now. But if it continues to rot, I can just pull that one out, put a new one in, cob round it, repaired. But that will last another couple of years anyway. I remember putting it in from the inside and then coming outside and then seeing that it was sort of partially rotten. I just thought, it's alright for now. It'll last a few years. It's kind of my mentality a lot of the time, is if something's going to last a couple of years, then, you know, let it last a couple of years and then change it. So yeah, everything's great. There's a tiny bit of shrinkage in some places up on the ridge there. I don't know if you can see. Occasionally I try and get mice try and bury themselves in there. I could do with going around there and just filling in with some cob, but all to be expected with a natural building. See, these are the logs under the kitchen here. See, they're all in good condition. Everything's working as it should. So yeah, that's the outside of the house, and everything I've done, all the little additions, and everything's working great. I'm very happy, very comfortable here. Like I say, it was about 6 months work, I think, when, I don't know, someone will have to correct me on that, I'd never counted the actual hours, but I'd say it was about 6 months work and about £4,000, something like that. But it could have been done cheaper, but I have lots of modern conveniences in mind, so it's a bit more expensive. Okay, so that's a little roundhouse update, year on, year living off grid in it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.